Um, Ways and means. Having determined our goal, the next problem before us is to find out means for the realization of the object. Sages and teachers have elaborately dealt with the subject. They have laid down various forms of practices or sadhanas helpful for the attainment of what they put forth as the final goal. But for the realization of God, the indeterminate absolute or Parabrahman, we have to adopt means which lead us to the complete negation. Our goal of life, as discussed in the previous chapter, is the final stage where we are nearest to the superactive center or zero, which is the primeval cause of the entire manifestation and to which everything will ultimately return after Mahapralaya, that is complete dissolution. To acquire this state, we have ourselves to become zero. No doubt we shall reach that point in natural course at the time of Mahapralaya, but what we strive for is to acquire it as early as possible in order to save ourselves from the miseries of innumerable lives. Just as Mahapralaya or complete dissolution is essential for the return of everything to the origin, similarly, for our return to the point, we must bring about our pralaya, that is destruction, or acquire a state of complete dissolution of all things of our making. It means we have to be free from all our belongings and assume the same naked form in which we were at the time of creation. Our belongings are a pile of samskaras, that is, impressions, with their resultant effects in the form of complexities and the diverse coverings which we have gathered around the soul and which are the results of our thoughts and actions. We possess mental and intellectual faculties which are all active. Our mind determines the actions of the body. We see, hear, feel, and understand things. We begin to like or dislike them. Desires gradually begin to creep in and affect our actions. The rings go on multiplying, and we exert ourselves for the fulfillment of desires. A desire, when satisfied, generally creates another to follow in its place. We are seldom free from them, even for a moment. We see most of the things with an idea of having them. These desires mold our physical and mental actions and lead to the formation of samskaras, that is, impressions. Their impressions remain on our causal body so long as they are not wiped off through the process of bhog. The completion of the bhog of all the samskaras formed every moment cannot ordinarily be possible during the whole life. Thus, when our life comes to a close, we still have a lot of samskaras in store within us. These very samskaras become the cause of our rebirth in order to offer us an opportunity to complete their bhog. But unfortunately, instead of finishing them, we add more than those we have exhausted.
So fundamentals is talking. So he says we are never free from desire even for a moment. And desire leads to action. Action leads to samskara. Samskara in turn create thoughts for further action. So we are caught in that samsara, you know. And we have to dissolve that. And
Correct.
then he'll tell you the ways and means how to dissolve the whole thing. Pralaya, that means we have to dissolve our mental world which we have created.
Correct. So the evening cleaning, we also call it like sort of an individual pralaya on a daily basis. Yeah.
Uh, uh, all practices which Babuji is telling, like meditation, evening cleaning, bedtime prayer, point A, point B, all of it leads to the pralaya only.
Hmm.
Evening cleaning has got a specific goal. That means every day we accumulate samskaras, even though you're not done, even though you have implemented his constant improvement, that master inside me, you sincerely feel that master, the force inside you is doing the work, and you're just an instrument or a servant of the master. Even then, you're moving in the world, you attract uh, the impurities from the surrounding environment. So every day we have to do cleaning, even though there are many occasions where when I practice, I know that consciously I've never done anything against the righteous principle which has added impurities. But still, you have to do the cleaning. And if you neglect the cleaning, next day the work becomes double, and then bad habits creep in, and then your progress gets arrested.
Hmm.
So you should first of all ensure that no further samskaras are being added by practicing constant remembrance and practicing evening cleaning.
Hmm.
And deeper cleaning, the trainer does it, and then uh, that happens by the grace of master, and master himself will take over the work. Actually, if you have the craving to reach the homeland, that craving itself produces the deeper cleaning. Uh, because God will send somebody to do that, remove those obstructions and all.
Hmm.
But evening cleaning is must for the goal we have chosen. If you want to dissolve our creation,
Hmm.
we should not add another this thing. The samskaras, stopping of samskaras should come to an end.
Hmm.
And remaining, you see, the samskaras are nothing but memories. Memories are of two kinds, you know. One memory which you can recollect, like I have met you, I meet you, suppose in Nagpur, or I have met Babuji and all that. That memory can be recollected from my consciousness. But the other memories which are samskaras from past lives and this life also, they'll be totally merged with the mind. So you will not be aware of those samskaras at all.
Hmm.
But they control your thoughts and feelings. So those you can call those samskaras. You can sticking to the mind as that portion of the subconscious or unconscious mind. You're not aware of them at all. So they also have to be clean, and that will be done by the trainer, and then the master himself does it. That is very important. All the impressions have to be go. Then only pralaya happens. Without removal of samskaras,
Yeah.
uh, just like today we are talking to Keshav actually about ahara or food. Suppose you keep on seeing news or WhatsApp and all that, and then you get a gratification in seeing. You enjoy that seeing. That means that is also adding impurities. You have to do double work.
Hmm.
You can reduce that work by realizing that they're all impurities, and unnecessarily you're increasing your own work. So why not I mean bring in your discrimination, and instead of that read Babuji's book or listen to his talk or whatever, instead of adding impurities.
Hmm.
And then again working, cleaning, it's all అవి
Yeah.
తెలుగులో there is a సామ బురద కేశవ అదేంటి బురద అడుసు
అడి
తొక్కు
అడిసి తొక్క నేల కాళ్ళు కడగ నేల.
అది వాట్స్ ద పాయింట్ ఇన్ డూయింగ్ దట్ So most of us, we have not
Yeah,
understood the
correct.
discipline required in this practice, and we keep on gather, acquiring impurities, and then we don't bother to do proper cleaning, the sincere interest and process with the sincerity and with the confidence and faith in the master. We don't do so. Effective cleaning is not happening in majority of the cases. That's the observation of the master himself. So he has written
Yeah,
uh, how you should tell the abhyasis to clean properly, and he says after the cleaning you should get up with the confidence that you have been cleaned.
yeah,
Oh, important.
correct.
Anyway, we'll go ahead.
Yeah. Uh, Another serious obstruction in our path is caused by our sufferings and miseries. Almost everyone in the world complains of the miseries he is faced with and which he wants to do away with. But he neglects the right means. He thinks fulfillment of desires to be the only way of removing the miseries. But that is not the solution. Miseries are commonly considered to be detestable, but there have been sages who voluntarily courted miseries, thinking them to be a boon, and have often prayed to God for them. The mystery of the problem will be clear if we look into the origin of miseries. Soul possesses consciousness as a result of God's will to affect creation. The soul likewise began to form its own tiny creation and gathered round it things of its own creation. Now, a stir, a motion, that is unrest or disturbance, was the main factor in bringing about the creation. Similarly, for the tiny creation of the soul, too, Similarly, for the tiny creation of the soul too, unrest or disturbance is indispensable. We also possess the force of will, which we apply to impart power to the factors necessary for setting up this creation. They appear before us in the form of joy or sorrow, comfort or misery. The mind, too, being constantly active, creates within us liking for the one and dislike for the other, introducing the two extremities of a thing. Thus, miseries come into existence. This is all the creation of the human mind, which results from our ignorance of the right relationship of things. Our passions, emotions, and impulses too contribute a good deal in aggravating the troubles and at times cause fierce tempest strong enough to threaten a complete wreck. We generally attribute its causes to circumstances, but it is a wrong notion. Mind is the center of this outer expansion of man, in the form of human body and everything, which is exhibited through the medium of the body, proceeds from the center, the mind. If our mind comes to a harmonious state, circumstances and environments will have no effect on it, and there will be no disturbance within. Peace and tranquility shall reign all through, under all circumstances. Passions, excitements, and desires will lose their intensity, and sorrow, joy, or misery will disappear from the view. Our desires are the main cause of miseries, so the only solution of miseries is the curtailment of desires. Fewer the desires, lesser, lesser shall be the miseries. But to become desireless is another problem. Desires form a network which we are entangled in. The more we try to get rid of it, tighter becomes the fibers of the net. The only way to free us from the entanglements is to divert our attention from them and fix our eyes on the very real thing. If we cultivate a habit of remaining unmindful of them, they will soon begin to disappear from our view, and consequently, our miseries will be minimized. Reality alone will remain constantly before our eyes, and everything else will lose its charm or significance.
This point is practically we have to follow it because this is a practical tip actually. People think that earning a lot of money, earning fame and all that, those they have a very wrong notion about desires.
Hmm.
Actually, every thought can be treated as a desire because every interaction with the world, as long as ego is there, there will be a judgment, and judgment is a desire actually. So you like or dislike anything. You hear news, you talk to people, you interact with people, you form an opinion, maybe this is good or bad or indifferent. Even indifferent is also an obstruction actually. So unless you see God in them, you will treat them indifferently. They neither provoke liking or disliking. So every thought in that sense can be a desire. That's why in earlier page he has written, we are never free from desires even for a moment.
Hmm.
What does he mean by that?
Hmm.
I
Correct.
mean, if you practically see, none of us are desiring that we'll purchase a new car, new bungalow every minute. To soch rahe na अपन. But he
Hmm.
uses that word. We are never free from desires even for a moment.
Hmm.
क्या मतलब है उसका?
Hmm.
So that means whenever we face the world, we judge, we like or dislike, or we are indifferent to them. All these things are desires only.
Hmm.
So you have to understand it, and you should if you neither promote them nor resist them, treat them like you're indifferent to them.
Hmm.
So that can be practiced 24 hours of the day. I mean, one is morning your meditation you're doing, evening cleaning you're doing,
Hmm.
bedtime prayer you're doing. Rest of the time you're sitting quietly instead of indulging in your thoughts or resisting with the thoughts. You watch your state of mind. Whatever thought coming, okay, just watch it. Then what happens? They also get dissipated. They become less and less, and you'll find yourself in a tranquil state continuously. So this has to be practiced regularly. You can read it again. These are important things. I mean, regarding desires.
Yes, sir.
Desires virtually means all thoughts,
Correct.
because no thought is neutral on its own.
Mhm. So any thought is basically a desire in some
Absolutely,
form.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, some thoughts. You see, there are what is called klistavrittis and aklistavrittis. Klistavrittis are painful vrittis. Painful vrittis are related to uh, um, 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 uh, um, um, uh, this ignorance, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abnivesha. These are all related to all these things are painful. But some of the vrittis, like suppose now you are thinking that everybody should be peaceful, the love and devotion for the master or God is increasing in all the people. That is also a vritti, that is also a thought, but that is a not painful thought. You can promote those kinds of thoughts,
Mhm.
but not other thoughts.
Mhm.
I mean, you can promote thoughts which are in tune with God, which are in tune with righteousness. Then that will help you purify your mind, and then you'll be able to meditate better next time.
Mhm.
तो वैसा कर सकते हैं. Or if you're doing meditation properly, if you sit quietly and observe yourself, most of the time there'll be very few thoughts, and only tranquility will be present throughout actually. As he has mentioned in the same paragraph, Uppar Dekha na, he says,
Mhm.
Uppar karo, peace and tranquility shall reign
Yeah.
all
Yes.
through, under all circumstances. Peace and tranquility means hardly there'll be any thoughts actually. So
Mhm.
that is a condition if your mind is comes to a state of harmony due to the practice.
Mhm.
This is important. Anyway, go ahead.
Just one question, sir. Here, where my pointer is, soul possesses consciousness as a result of God's will to affect creation.
Yeah.
Is it talking about the free will that came along with?
No, no, no.
Uh,
Like now, the consciousness and will go together. Every consciousness has got a will. You
hmm.
see? And then like I'm talking, I'm reading, listening to the Zoom meeting, so understanding whatever changes I'm, all that, that is the part of God in all of us. Your awareness itself is part of God, and that awareness has got will. We use that will generally not in harmony with the divine will. We generally we use that will to create our own mental world, prapancha. We create a prapancha and we live in that world. And Babuji is asking us to dissolve that mental world. Your attachment to your body, attachment to your wife, children, properties, attachment to your nation, country, all the thing, the world you form, and that is not real actually. So most of the time we spend on unreal things instead of trying to meditate on God, trying to understand the nature of God, and try to merge yourself and try to use your thinking power to know the real reality. We are running after unreal things because they are totally unreal. In the if you logically also, if you investigate deeply, you will come to that understanding. So consciousness sab mein rehta, and consciousness has got will also. Uh,
So,
so the will can be used. That is a power. Power can be used for your good, can be used for your bad.
that's what I meant. Like, if it is that free will, then free will can be used for our progress, or it can be used for something
Yeah.
negative.
Uh-huh. Generally, that's why it is Shreyas and Prayas and Asura and Daiva Prabhuti, they all come. There are only two ways. If you are thinking about God, you can call it's called a Daivi Pravritti. If you're not thinking about God, that is Asurik Pravritti. The will is God. Or if the will is towards Shreyas, that means towards long-term happiness and balance, and then this thing, that is good. Suppose your prayers, that means pleasure-seeking thing, that will lead to misery and suffering. So that's as simple as that.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah, we'll go ahead then.
Yeah. Uh, Total absence of sufferings and miseries in life is, however, impossible and unnatural. In fact, they are rather meant for our betterment. They are just like bitter pills of medicine given to a patient to restore health. The misuse of even the best thing creates trouble. So is the case with miseries. Proper utility of everything at the proper time and in the proper way is sure to bring forth good results in the long run. Miseries are really our best guide, which make our path smooth. To a man in ordinary sphere of life, miseries are very helpful for his making. Referring to domestic troubles and miseries of a worldly life, my master used to say, our home is the training ground of patience and endurance. To endure calmly the adversities of a household life is for us the greatest penance, which is the noblest of all forms of penances. What we have, therefore, to do under the circumstance is not to give way to the feeling of anger or grief, but to assume an unquestioning attitude, thinking that we ourselves are in the wrong, for which we have to forbear with a cool mind. Solitary life in a forest and aloofness from all worldly concerns may be, to some extent, the means of cultivating patience and forbearance, but to us, the taunts and rebukes of our friends and relations is the greatest penance and the surest means of success. In fact, to put up coolly with miseries and troubles contribute much to our betterment, hence they are valuable assets to our progress. It is only by their wrong use that we spoil their effect and thus get deprived of their best advantages. Renunciation or non attachment is no doubt an essential stage in realization, and we can never be free from entanglements of Maya unless we cultivate non attachment. But it does not mean severing our connection with home the family, and all worldly concerns, and taking up the life of a religious mendicant. I do not agree with those who hold the view that only means of cultivating non-attachment is to get away from home and family and retire to a solitary corner, discarding all worldly ties. Renunciation effected by such forced means is seldom found to be genuine, for it is just possible that in spite of their apparent forced detachment from the world, they may still inwardly be clinging to it. No doubt, as a householder, we have to look after many things. We have to support our family. We have to provide for the education of our children. We have to look to their wants and necessities. We have to protect them from heat and cold, from trouble and sickness, and so on. For these necessities, we earn and possess money and property. The real evil is only our undue attachment with things which we are associated with. This is the main cause of our sufferings. But if we are able to do everything in life, thinking it to be our duty without any feeling of attraction or repulsion, we are in a way free from worldly ties and have renounced the world in the true sense, although we possess and make use of many things. Everything we possess shall then seem to be a sacred trust from the Supreme Master for the discharge of the duties entrusted to us. Renunciation truly means non-attachment with worldly objects and not non-possession of things. Thus, a household life in which possession of things and worldly ties are indispensable is no impediment in the way of renunciation and consequently of realization, only if one is not unduly attached to the objects he is connected with. Take a pause. Uh, Sir, here it is, to put up coolly with miseries and troubles contribute much to our betterment, hence they are valuable assets. Then it says it is only by the wrong use that we spoil their effect and thus get deprived. So it's talking about how we react to such.
Yeah,
Uh,
we wrong use बोले तो we keep on common thinking देखो मैं I have done everything good, why disease should come to me, why only suffering should come to me.
hmm,
You know, you keep on brooding about it, and then you aggravate the suffering.
hmm,
Actually, it is most of the diseases I've seen. Uh, Actually, it's a lesson to reduce the vehemence of the ego. You realize that you are an ordinary person vulnerable to all the diseases. So,
hmm,
disease is trying to teach you that you are not such a great person. You think you are invincible and all that.
hmm,
But if you don't learn that lesson, the disease also will keep on coming back to teach you that lesson.
hmm.
I mean, this is my theory. Anyway,
Okay, sir. Yeah, I'll proceed.
yeah.
There are numerous examples of saints having attained the highest degree of perfection, leading a household life all through. Renunciation is in fact a condition or an inner state of mind which brings to our view the transitory and changing character of things and creates a feeling of non attachment with such objects. His eyes are fixed every moment on reality, which is unchanging and eternal, and he is free from feeling of attraction and repulsion. This is vairagya, renunciation, in the true sense of of the term.
He
When
says his eyes are fixed every moment on reality, not only during meditation.
Yeah.
So you understand the importance of constant remembrance here.
Mm.
Without that, Vairagya will not come.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When we have achieved this state of mind, we are free from desires. We feel contented with what is available to us. The end of desires means the stopping of the formation of samskaras. What remains now is only to undergo the effect, bhog, of the previously formed samskaras, impressions, that are to be worked out during the course of our life. Nature too helps us in the work by creating field for bhog in order to remove the impressions of our thoughts and actions from the causal body. When those coverings melt away, we begin to assume finer forms of existence. In order to control our thoughts and actions, we have to look to the proper working of the mind, which is never at rest even for a moment. I have often heard religious teachers railing it in bitterest terms, ascribing all bad names to it, and proclaiming it to be our worst enemy. The reason is quite plain. They think it to be the cause of all evil within us, and consequently, they advise people to crush it and not to follow its biddings. But generally, people find it hard task to restrain the diverse activities of the mind or to disregard its biddings. The theoretical advice and lectures in this respect are therefore not of much avail to them, and almost none of those attending their lectures has ever been able to achieve the object in a practical way. Besides, the present circumstances and the environments too contribute much towards the ever increasing activities of the individual mind. Almost everyone today feels his life to be a hard struggle for existence, confronting acute problems of poverty, insecurity, distress, and rivalry, and it is almost impossible to keep himself free from its effects. The result is the constant unrest and disturbance of mind. We breathe in the same thing from the atmosphere and are consequently led away by the circumstances and surroundings. Our individual mind has become the weathercock, turning its face at every blast towards the direction in which the wind blows. The real hero in the struggle is one who braves them courageously and keeps oneself free from their effect. I no doubt agree with those who say that every evil has its origin in the mind and which alone is therefore responsible for it. Though at the same time, I may remind them that it is the very same mind that leads us to virtue and also help us to realize our highest self. So it is not every evil alone that proceeds from the mind, but also every good. Hence, those who condemn it in the bitterest terms have no justification for it at all. It is really only due it's only really due to the defective molding of the mind, and what is actually required is not the crushing or the killing of the mind, but merely its proper training. The mind is like the pendulum of a clock. The clock goes all right so long as the movement of the pendulum is regulated. If it is disturbed, the clock is out of order. Similarly, for this human clock, it is necessary that the movement of the mind be well regulated and adjusted. The methods to mold the mind and regulate its activities are also very simple. Really, we have spoiled the mind ourselves by allowing it to wander about aimlessly during leisure hours. The practice has continued for years and it has now become almost its second nature. If we now try to control the mind by putting it under restraint, we meet with little success. The more we try to suppress it by force, the more it rebounds and contracts, causing greater disturbance. The proper method to control the activities of the mind is to fix it on one sacred thought, just as we do in meditation, and dispel from it everything unwanted or superfluous. In course of time, after constant practice, the mind gets disciplined and regulated, and much of the inner disturbance is eliminated. The best course to free you from unwanted ideas is to treat them as uninvited guests and remain unmindful of them. They will then wither away like unwatered plants, and ultimately the same sacred thought will remain predominant. The only way to accomplish it is, therefore, meditation under the guidance of a capable master. By constant practice in meditation, the mind will become calm and peaceful, and the unwanted ideas will cease to trouble you. I often hear beginners complaining about the wandering of the mind during meditation. From the very first day, they expect that during their practice at meditation, the mind should remain at a standstill. But when they find different ideas and thoughts haunting their mind, they feel greatly perturbed. I must clear it to them that it is not the suspended condition of the mind we are striving for in our practice, but only the molding of its multifarious activities. We do not want to stop its normal working, but only to bring it to a regulated and disciplined state. If the activities of the mind are stopped from the very beginning, we probably do not stand in need of practicing meditation at all. Meditation is the only process to achieve that end. Concentration is its natural result in due course. The proper method is to meditate all along, remaining quite unmindful of the foreign ideas and thoughts coming to our mind during that time. Mental struggle to keep off the unwanted ideas often proves unsuccessful, for it causes a strong reaction which is often impossible for man of ordinary capabilities to overcome, and which is sometimes likely to result in serious mental disturbance or even insanity. It may be possible for those who, by leading a life of celibacy, have gained sufficient ojas, luster, to cope successfully with the flow of thoughts and to withstand the effect of the reaction. But for ordinary man, it is almost an impossibility. If instead of struggling to keep off ideas, we only remain unmindful of them, very soon they will lose their effect and cease troubling us. They will then be only like dogs barking after a caravan which goes forward without paying any heed to them. When we are attentive to ideas to check them, concentration is naturally there, which breeds power, and thus they become stronger. A most common excuse advanced by certain people today is that they are too busy to devote any time to meditation or similar other practice. But the busiest man has the greatest leisure, is a well known saying. I think a man has more time to his disposal than there is work for him to do. Their complaint of the scarcity of time is due to only its wrong adjustment. If we utilize our time to the best advantage, we shall never have cause to complain that it is short or scarce. There are others who are a bit frank to admit that it is not for want of time that they remain away from devotional duties, but for their habitual negligence and sluggishness that they cannot overcome. To them, I would say that they are probably never negligent or sluggish in their trade or profession, which they attend to with full zeal, in spite of all personal inconvenience and even illness, only because some monetary gain or profit is in view. Their longing for the material gain turns them unmindful of their inconvenience or illness. Similarly, if our longing or lagan for the realization of the goal is great, our negligent or sluggish habits will not stand in the way of our effort or progress. If we go through the history of ancient sages, we find that they had sacrificed all comforts of life for the sake of attaining reality. They led a life of austerity and penance, undergoing every kind of hardship and trouble for the sake of the object so dear to their heart. Intense longing for the goal made them blind to everything else, and they remained firm on the path, not minding the difficulties and reverses that come across their way. Such an intense longing for the object and an iron will to achieve the goal is absolutely necessary to ensure complete success. I may assure you that you can win laurels in the spiritual field if only you turn your attention towards God and proceed with will, faith, and confidence, no matter how adversely you may be placed in, surrounded by all the worries and miseries of a household life. Your busy life will then offer no hindrance in your way. Generally, people go hesitatingly towards God, thinking themselves to be too incapable and weak to achieve the real thing. A powerful will made at the very first step and maintained all through shall never fail to achieve complete success. Half the distance is crossed if a man enters the field with a firm mind. Difficulties and dejections will melt away at a mere glance, and the path of success will be made smooth. Indecisive attitude leads to half hearted efforts and generally results in mere partial success or more often in failure. Our firm will enables us automatically to draw in power from unknown sources for the accomplishment of the task. A firm will supplemented by an ever increasing impatience or yearning to achieve the object will enhance the force of our effort, and we shall thereby remain in constant touch with the same real thing, catching every hint conducive to our spiritual well-being and progress. Take a pause here. I'll proceed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Impatience or constant restlessness to reach the goal in the shortest possible time is thus by far the most important factor that contributes to our speedy success. We must not rest even for a while till we have gained the real object, the eternal peace and calmness. Intense longing for an object naturally creates restlessness for it, and we have no peace till we achieve the desired object. It is therefore a very essential thing and must be cultivated by whatever means possible. Thus, for gaining the eternal peace, we cultivate within us restlessness and impatience at the preliminary stage. It may look strange at the very face of it when I ask you to cultivate the very thing we want to do away with, but it is the only way to achieve sure and speedy success. The restlessness thus created is temporary and different in character from the ordinary restless condition of the mind. It is finer and more pleasant. It creates an inlet in our heart for the divine current to flow in and smoothens our passage to the kingdom of God. If you trust, if you if you if you thrust a man down into the water, you find that he makes desperate efforts to free himself from your grip. It is only because his impatience to get at once out of the water at once increases his force of effort, and he does not rest till he is out of water. Similarly, such desperate efforts caused by extreme impatience to reach the goal at once will quicken our steps on the path of realization and ensure easy success in the least possible time. That is the easiest and the most efficient means of speedy success. My associates have often inquired from me the method for creating such type of restlessness within them. I may tell them that intense love for the object will automatically lead them to it. When we are in deep love, we shall naturally feel impatient to secure nearness with the loved object. When we are greatly in love with any of the worldly objects, its idea comes to our mind again and again, and we think of it over and over again. Now, in order to develop divine love in our heart, we have only to reverse the process. If we remember God frequently or for the most part of the day, we will automatically develop love for Him, which, if we continued with earnestness, will create impatience in our heart to secure union at the earliest. Another way of developing love with God is to play the part of a lover as if you are enacting a drama, but it is only for those who are almost incapable of finer means. The method, though artificial, will shortly bring you to reality, and feeling of true love and impatience will begin to agitate your heart. Should we stop here, sir?
I will stop here.
Yeah.
Long one. Next time, finish.
Next time we'll finish. Yes.
You have to visit them again and again because
Yes.
each time we get fresh inspiration, practice well.
Correct, sir.
Okay, no question, we'll meet again.